What do students need to learn the first 2 weeks of school? Welcome back to Special Educators Resource Room podcast. This is Jennifer from Positively Learning, and this is unofficially episode 2 of the back to school season. Last week, we talked all about what not to prep before day 1. This week, we're moving from the classroom to your actual students, specifically what our students actually need from us during those first couple weeks of school. Because here's something that is very easy to forget in August. Having an activity ready is not the same thing as having students who are ready to do the activity. You can plan a great activity, the best. You can have all the materials organized, you can have the visuals ready, the directions clear, everything's sitting exactly where it needs to be. And then you put it in front of students on day 1 and realize they have absolutely no idea what you expect them to do with it. And that's very normal, especially at the beginning of the year. And I don't know why, but year after year, for some reason, I would forget that and I would be surprised every time. But it makes sense. We know how the activity is supposed to work because we planned it. Our students don't. They don't automatically know where to get their materials, where to sit, how to start, what to do if they need help, what finished even looks like, where things go when they're done, or what they're supposed to do next. Those are all the things we have to teach. And I think this is one of the easiest traps to fall into during the first couple of weeks of school for both experienced teachers and new teachers. We have so much we want to get started. We feel the pressure of all the things we need to get done. We want to see what students can do. We want to get into the schedule. We want the classroom to start feeling like the classroom we planned for. But before our students can move through all of those activities successfully, they have to learn how things work in this classroom. And that takes modeling, and it takes practicing together, and it takes repetition, usually taking so much more repetition than we think it will. The goal isn't for students to walk in one day already knowing how to do everything we've planned for them. The goal is to use these first couple of weeks to teach them. And when we give them that teaching time that they really need now, we're building the routines that are going to make the rest of the year so much easier. There are 4 things I recommend teaching. However, before we get to them, quick pause. I know that you might be feeling so much pressure to get things done, especially these first 2 weeks. You might have a list of things that you're accountable for. Maybe you're collecting baseline data. Maybe you are getting signatures on all this paperwork. Maybe there's some meetings that you are holding. I wish I could give you permission to just ignore all that. I really do, because I know that's what I would do. This is so important. It's so crucial to have students feel safe and welcome, and for them to feel secure in those routines before we even grab that first data point. And think about how much more valid that data would be if a student felt that way. Okay, now let's get into exactly what I recommend teaching the first 2 weeks and how. Number 1, you want students to know how to start independent work without waiting on you. Here's what I would suggest. First, you're modeling it completely. That means you're moving to the area, you're picking up the first task, you're narrating what you're doing out loud, and then you actually start doing the task. And if you're comfortable, inviting students to start doing that with you so that you can start stepping back a step or 2 at a time and observe, saying nothing unless students get stuck. And we're repeating that same sequence every single day until students start without the prompt from you. Not a new approach each day, but the same sequence on repeat. The second thing I would explicitly teach is how to ask for help, whether it's a specific signal. We don't want them just sitting and hoping. This is one of the most overlooked routines, especially when we talk about independent work. We've built in a clear start, clear work, clear finish into the activity. But if a student gets stuck right in the middle and has not been taught a way to signal that, they're either going to sit frozen or they're going to get up and find you, which interrupts whatever else is happening in the room. So we want to pick one consistent help signal, whether it's a visual, card, specific phrase, raised object, hand signal, whatever fits your classroom. And we want to teach it with that same modeling and practice as the starting routine. The third routine I recommend explicitly teaching is teaching students how to know when they're finished with something and what to do next. This connects directly back to that clear finish from the summer series we did. But I want to be really precise here. A clear finish on a task only works if the student has also been taught the physical routine around it. Where does the finished work go? What do they do with themselves once it's there? Where do they go next? Those are taught behaviors, not printed instructions. A finished bin without a taught routine for using it is just a bin with a finished sign on it. The fourth and final routine I recommend teaching these first 2 weeks of school is transitions, and specifically how to move from one activity to the next. In my opinion, transitions are the single most under-taught routine in a classroom. And we spend so much energy on the activities themselves that we assume that movement between them will just happen. But it won't, especially not in the first few weeks. We need to teach the transition itself, where students go. Are they carrying anything with them? What signal tells them it's time to move? We want to teach that with the same explicit modeling as everything else on this list. Those are the 4 things I recommend. Number 1 is how to work independently, especially getting started. Number 2 is what to do if somebody needs help. Number 3 is how to know when we're finished and what to do next. And number 4, how to move from one activity to the next, transitions. Now let's think about what this could look like across settings. It might look a little different depending on your classroom. If you're in a self-contained classroom, you might be teaching all 4 routines to the whole group at once, which means your modeling has to be big and visible enough for everyone to see it clearly. In a resource room, you're often teaching these routines in short, individual, or small group blocks, which actually can work in your favor. You can move through the modeling practice fade sequence faster because you have fewer students at once. And if you're supporting inclusion, you might be the one teaching a paraprofessional how to run the same sequence with your student in a room that you're not always in. That's worth a conversation on its own, which is exactly where next week's episode is going to pick up. There's something very important that I want to stress because I think it can trip teachers up in week 1 and 2. If you teach one of these routines today, and tomorrow a student or group of students need the exact same amount of help, that is not evidence that it isn't working. That's what teaching a new routine actually looks like. And I'm not sure why we don't remember that from year to year. I know I don't. Repetition is the plan. It is not a symptom that something's wrong. That instinct when a routine doesn't stick after one try is often to switch approaches. I need a new visual. That one didn't work. I need a new system. They didn't get that one. Please resist that instinct for at least a week, even longer. Consistency is what's going to make the routine hold far more than any particular method. You don't have to have the best method. Consistency rules. So pick the routine, teach it the same way every day for at least a week, hopefully 2 weeks, and then you can check whether it's holding before you decide it needs to change. All right, here's your homework and what's next. Your homework is to pick one of the routines we talked about. I gave 4. I hope that didn't make you feel like you needed to do all 4 right at the same time. Just pick one and teach it explicitly every day before you add the next one. Model it completely, practice it together, narrate what you're doing while you do it, and then repeat that same sequence tomorrow and the next day. One routine taught on repeat this week is going to beat 4 routines introduced once and never revisited. Next week, we're going to be talking about supporting paraprofessionals and why we don't need to have this huge, heavy handbook to do it. I'm going to link the Task Box Club and the Independent Work Club in the show notes if you do want independent work tasks that are built with clear starts, clear work, clear finish, so your teaching energy goes towards the routines instead of trying to find the materials. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time in the Special Educators Resource Room. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'm dying to ask, what'd you think? Be sure to hit the follow or subscribe buttons so that you never miss an episode. You can find the show notes and links for everything mentioned in this episode at positivelylearningblog.com. See you next week for more special education solutions.